What's up, guys? Welcome to another range day. This is going to be a fun one today. We're going to be shooting my CMMG Banshee 9mm SBRs. Guys, if you enjoy the content that I'm making, then please make sure to like and subscribe and leave me a message down in the comments section. I hate asking, but it really does help the algorithm a lot, so I'd really appreciate it. And if you ring the bell icon, you should get notifications when new videos are released as well. Additionally, if you want more Chester's Hobbies content, you can follow me on Instagram, where you can see what I'm working on and get previews of upcoming videos. And I'm also pretty active on Reddit if you'd like to follow along with the conversations there. Alright, well that's enough of that, so back to the guns of the day, my CMMG Banshee SBRs. Now the concept of the AR9 or the 9mm AR-15 style firearm is a very popular one. The idea of a gun that operates very similarly to the AR-15 you're familiar with, but shoots lower cost 9mm that can also be shot at steel up close or in indoor ranges without restrictions, and also shares ammunition and potentially even magazines with your sidearm of choice is very appealing to many people. But the problem with the traditional AR-9 is that they most commonly use a direct blowback operation. Direct blowback is extremely reliable, but 9mm pistol caliber carbines that use direct blowback, especially AR-9s, tend to have much heavier recoil than a standard AR-15 shooting .223 or .556 ammunition. The recoil in a lot of ways is considerably heavier than many people think 9mm should be. And for those reasons, among others, they're not as pleasant to shoot, and some people would even consider them somewhat uncomfortable in comparison. Now enter CMMG with their patented radial-delayed blowback system that they introduced a few years back. Originally released in .45 ACP and then later adapted for several other calibers like these models here, 9mm, the system is very similar in concept to the roller-delayed blowback of an MP5. The general idea is that you mechanically delay the reciprocation of the bolt, which keeps pressure in the chamber longer before the bolt unlocks. This spreads the recoil impulse out over a greater period of time, effectively reducing felt recoil while enhancing the shootability of the platform, making it easier to keep your sights on target and also reducing port pop for suppressor use. The system is also built into what looks very much like a standard AR-15 bolt carrier group and can operate reliably without an exceedingly heavy bolt, buffer, or spring setup. Many people out there would consider the CMMG Radial-Delayed Blowback system to be the best technology available for the AR-9 platform, and based on my personal experience, I would have to agree. I have two versions of the CMMG Banshee that we're going to be shooting today. I have a Banshee 300 that was originally purchased as a pistol in 2019 and later converted to an SBR. And I have this custom Banshee build I think you're really going to like. I'll be going into details on that here shortly. But starting with the Banshee 300, this was a standard model in 2019 which has a 5-inch barrel. There are several versions of the Banshee that take different types of magazines. Currently, they're available in versions that take Colt mags, Glock mags, Sig P320 mags, or CMMG's AR conversion magazines. This Banshee 300 was the first one that I purchased, and I went with the MkG model, which uses Glock mags. As mentioned, this was originally purchased as a pistol, and it came with the CMMG rip brace system. Now, I love this gun as a pistol, and after shooting it for about a year or so, I decided I wanted to make it an SBR. So after the Form 1 was approved, I swapped out the SBA3 brace and put the Magpul MOE stock on there. The other thing that I added when I converted to an SBR is a Magpul M-LOK vertical grip. Now for the sights on here, I have a Holosun 507C microdot on a UTG riser, which I like a lot. It has a small footprint, keeps things nice and light. Then I have a set of Magpul M-Bus flip-up backup iron sights that I have set up in an absolute co-witness configuration with the Holosun. You may have noticed that the front sight is set back here a little bit further than you would normally see. Since the barrel and handguard are so short in this gun, there's really not a lot of real estate for my support hand, and I rarely use the iron sights. They are backups after all. So I moved the front sight back a little bit so I could get a strong thumb over bore style grip, which is how I like to run my rifles. I put an Inlet We Trust Trilug adapter on the end of the barrel so I could use it with my suppressors. I installed a Radiant QD end plate that I use with my Savvy Sniper sling. The last upgrade that I made on this Banshee 300 was I swapped out the stock mil-spec trigger for a Geisley 2-stage trigger, which is a huge improvement. These are some of my favorite triggers. I absolutely love them. So that's it for changes on this one. In terms of standard features, it does have standard AR style controls and manual alarms, and a lot of the parts are interchangeable with standard AR-15 parts. It came with a Magpul MOE pistol grip, ambidextrous safety, and a CMMG ambidextrous extended charging handle. Now in the Glock lower models, I really like the oversized magazine release. It's really smooth and ergonomic. Lastly, the Banshee 300 series came in several different Cerakote options. I think there was actually 10 of them at the time, so for mine I chose this titanium finish, which I think looks pretty cool. It's nice having something a little bit different where most of my guns are just straight black. Now the Banshee 300 with a 5-inch barrel is an awesome platform. It's compact, extremely ergonomic, smooth shooting, and a great suppressor host. But a couple of years ago I wanted to see how far the platform could really go, and that led to this custom Banshee 8-inch SBR that you see here. So this gun actually started as a 22 long rifle AR build using an 8-inch 22LR CMMG Banshee upper. I'm really excited to do a video on that one at some point. It's easily one of the most fun guns that I own. But after building and SBRing that, I started reading about some impressive sounding custom 9mm Banshee builds, and I decided to give it a shot. So I bought a complete 8-inch 9mm CMMG Radial-Delayed Blowback upper receiver, put my favorite Holosun 503 GU red dots, some B&T flip-up iron sights, a BCM vertical grip, and Angstad Arms Trilug adapter on it, and slapped it on my SBR lower. That's actually not where the magic happens here. The magic of this build is really in the way that I've configured the lower receiver. Now as a full disclaimer here, I certainly can't claim to have invented this configuration. It was actually posted online by C3 Junkie originally. But essentially the real magic of this build is in the buffer system. So I got a VLTOR A5 extended buffer tube with a Tubbs 556 flat wire spring and a Kynshot 5007 hydraulic buffer. This basically combines the concept of a delayed blowback operation like an MP5 or the CMMG Banshees Radial-Delayed Blowback in this instance, with the softness of a hydraulic buffer as seen in the B&T APC 9 series. This results in one of the flattest and softest shooting 9mm pistol caliber carbine platforms I've ever shot. It also happens to be one of the quietest 9mm suppressor hosts I've ever fired as well. Now I know those are bold claims to make, but seriously, wait until you see and hear this thing. It's wild. The other thing that I absolutely love about this custom Banshee is that I have it set up using CMMG AR conversion magazines, which are basically Magpul PMags configured to work with 9mm. This means that this setup feels even more identical to my 556 ARs when it comes to manual of arms, and I love it. These magazines work great. As for the rest of the build, I have a Magpul K2 grip, an LWRC compact stock, which is super comfortable, a BCM QDM plate for my Savvy Sniper sling, a Franklin Army trigger and ambidextrous safety setup on an Aero Precision M4 Pew lower, with a standard magazine release and a Magpul bad lever on the bolt release to keep a common manual of arms with my AR-15 setups. And finally, both of these setups are going to be shot both unsuppressed and also suppressed with my Dead Air Wolfman in both short and long configurations, as well as with my SilencerCo Omega 9K that just got out of jail this week, so I'll be testing that out a little bit today as well. So that's what we got going on today, guys. It's been a while since I shot these guns, so let's get these Banshees out on the range and see what they can do. So guys, I want to give you an idea of what these Banshees sound like, both unsuppressed with supersonic ammo as well as suppressed with subsonic ammo. So I'm going to fire 6 shots through both my Banshees in slow fire into the dirt. I'm going to start off with supersonic unsuppressed in the Banshee 300, and then I'll attach the SilencerCo Omega 9K and shoot 2 subsonic rounds suppressed, and then I'll attach the Dead Air Wolfman in short configuration and fire 2 more rounds suppressed with subsonic ammunition. Then I'll switch over to the 8-inch custom Banshee and do the exact same sequence, but this time the Wolfman is going to be in its long configuration to show what that sounds like as well. After we go through all the shots, I'll edit them together so we can go through them one by one without any distractions. Alright, so let's start with the Banshee 300, supersonic, unsuppressed. Okay. Suppressed. Okay. Guys, these guns are absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things about them. I ran a total of 400 rounds to them today, 200 suppressed and 200 unsuppressed, which was honestly quite a bit more than I was planning on, but I was having so much fun, I just couldn't stop. The effectiveness of the Radial-Delayed Blowback is definitely not overblown. It's the closest thing I can think of to an MP5 that's not an MP5. The reciprocation of the bolt is really slow, which creates a really muted, mild, and pleasant recoil impulse. Now, it's hard for me to pick a favorite because I love them both, and there's definitely some pluses and minuses to the two of them. For my personal shooting preference, I tend to prefer longer handguards so I can extend my support hand out longer on the handguard and control muzzle rise and keep my sights on target a little bit easier. So from an ergonomic standpoint, it's pretty much predetermined that I'm going to like the 8-inch model a little bit better, but the 5-inch Banshee is absolutely fantastic as well. It's extremely controllable for a short or K-style gun. The recoil impulse is really soft, and with the Magpul stock and vertical grip, I can really wrench down on it and keep it on target under rapid fire. It's also extremely soft shooting and pleasant to shoot suppressed. I think the biggest thing that my Banshee 300 has going for is its Geisley trigger. Geisley triggers are probably my favorite triggers of all time, so I can run it really quick, and it's a total blast. And even though I generally do prefer longer handguards, it's extremely fun running such a short AR style platform. It's extremely light and handy and easy to run all day without any fatigue. But this 8-inch custom Banshee is really something else entirely. The recoil impulse is so muted that sometimes it almost feels like it's not even going off, which is just insane, and it's a ton of fun. There were a couple of times that actually distracted me to the point where I messed up the shots I was planning on because it was just so soft. But of course, if you're shooting it all the time, that's not going to happen because you're going to be used to it. I just hadn't shot in a while, and I remembered it being awesome, but I wasn't really prepared for how awesome it would be. So I was only using the Franklin trigger in semi-auto today, and it works pretty well. It's a single stage pull at about 4.5 pounds or so. I'd say maybe slightly better than a mil-spec trigger. It's a little bit inconsistent for me though. Sometimes I could run it really fast and sometimes it would hang up a little bit on me. At the end of the day, I think it was probably me, especially going back and forth between this trigger and the Geisley. I have to say that both of these guns really come alive when shooting them suppressed. Especially in the case of the 8-inch model, it's the most muted and almost not there recoil impulse. It's crazy. And the sights just flat out don't move when shooting rapid fire. It's insanely fun. Now the 5-inch model has a very similar muted recoil impulse when shooting suppressed. It's super quick, super quiet, but overall I would say that the recoil is a little bit more noticeable in the 5-inch model than the 8-inch model, which again really has nothing to do with barrel length, but more to do with the custom hydraulic buffer setup that I have going on. As far as the suppressors goes, it was actually my first time using the Omega 9K on both of these platforms, and I absolutely loved it. I think it sounds extremely similar to the Wolfman in short configuration, but it's an inch shorter and 5 ounces lighter, so you can really barely notice that it's even sitting there on the end of the gun. The balance of these guns is really spectacular when using the Omega 9K. I'm so glad I got it. Still love the Wolfman because I think it's just a little bit quieter and it's modular, so it can go both long or short. But when I want something that's light and handy and feels like it's almost not even there, I'm definitely going to be reaching for the Omega 9K. Now another thing worth noting about the Dead Air Wolfman, I've been using it for a couple of years now and really had no issues for the most part. One issue that I do sometimes have is with the Trilug attachment. I find with not all but many of my guns, there's only one of 3 positions that's going to be accurate when using the Wolfman on a PCC. The other 2 positions can throw the bullet way off target. It's kind of wild. But usually I do have no problem finding that one position that's going to be accurate, and I take notes on it, and then it's not usually an issue in the future. But today, for whatever reason, I was having a real hard time getting the Wolfman to be accurate on the 8-inch custom Banshee at 25 yards. It seemed like it was pretty much on at 10 yards, but at 25, it was still going a couple feet off target. So I'm going to have to reach out to Dead Air about that. Again, I've been using it for a couple of years now. It's been working beautifully for me, so I was a little bit surprised by this one, honestly. Fortunately, the baffles look fine. There's no end cap strikes or anything like that, so it's not too bad, but it does seem like something might be a little bit off. Fortunately, though, I had none of those issues with the Omega 9K. It worked great for me. So in a world filled with awesome pistol caliber carbines, where do the Banshees sit? I'm going to be filming a full comparison of all my PCCs later this year so that I can answer questions like that more definitively. But for now, I'll just say that if your goal is to have an AR-style PCC, whether it's for fun or low-cost training, I don't think you can really get any better than the Banshee at this point. I think there might be a couple of roller-delayed AR-9s coming out that might be worth taking a look at, but at this point, the Radial-Delayed Blowback that CMMG has is really proven and really awesome. They shoot very similarly to the iconic MP5, especially this custom Banshee here with the hydraulic buffer, but then they have the much improved AR manual of arms. Now, I think the Sig MPX with the Timney trigger is maybe a little bit faster, but at the moment, I would say that the Banshee probably has a lighter recoil impulse, especially the custom Banshee with the hydraulic buffer. Other than that, I would say that they're noticeably softer shooting than the APC or GHM series from B&T, and significantly softer shooting than something like a CZ Scorpion that's direct blowback. Then from an aftermarket and customizability standpoint, they're compatible with a wide array of AR-15 style parts, including charging handles, triggers, handguard stocks, and braces. So in all honesty, guys, if you're interested in AR-9, then I think the Banshee is really a no-brainer. It's really easy to recommend. I absolutely love them both. It's also great that you have 4 different choices of magazines when you're picking one up. If you have a lot of Glock magazines laying around, then the Glock lower version might make sense. Or maybe you carry a Sig P320, so you got a bunch of those. Or maybe you just really stack deep in Colt mags for some reason. For me, I think my absolute favorite option is these CMMG AR conversion magazines. It makes it so you can actually swap the upper out onto any AR-15 lower that you happen to have. NFA laws notwithstanding, of course. I do think that for me personally, the Banshees lack a little bit of the cool factor of something like an MP5 or an MPX or a KP9 Vitesse. They just don't have that traditional subgun look that you're used to seeing in movies and video games. But honestly, the quality and the feel of the shooting experience is almost second to none. So yeah, guys, you know how much I love my 9mm PCCs. I have a ton. They're all fun. But I would say the CMMG Banshee is definitely in the upper echelon of PCCs that are available today. They did recently update the Banshee line in 2022 with some really cool looking furniture. Being honest, I am a little bit jealous because they do look really cool, but their function is absolutely identical, so so I'm not losing any sleep over it. So that's going to be all for today, guys. We got a lot more videos coming up soon, including more PCCs, ARs, AKs, handguns, and shotguns. Remember to like and subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned, and thanks for stopping by.